Minnesota Vikings got started early in free agency by extending one of their own, and it could cause a huge ripple effect for free agency. We knew that the Minnesota Vikings might be targeting some of their own guys when it came to extensions, and they finally got one done on Thursday morning, signing safety Theo Jackson to a 2-year extension worth over $12.6 million. Now, if you include that with the $3.2 million he was projected to get on his restricted free agent deal, it's essentially worth $15.9 million. Not too shabby for a guy who's barely played for the Minnesota Vikings. He played less than 100 snaps last year, but did have the game-ending interception against the Seattle Seahawks in Week 16, and you could tell during training camp that he looked like a fourth starter. But with how Brian Flores does not like to rotate that much in the secondary, Jackson did not get much playing time, but it wasn't due to any fault of his own. Now, what the signing does is signal a couple of things when it comes to how the Minnesota Vikings are going to project forward. They're signing him to a very similar deal that they signed Josh Metellus to. It was a 2-year, $8 million extension with up to $13 million if he hit all these bonus benchmarks. And guess what? Metellus has been stellar for the Vikings, but when they signed him to that deal, it was like, this is interesting because he's never really shown that he's a starting caliber player. And then all of a sudden, he just was. He even garnered a lot of Pro Bowl attention, and they didn't really have anywhere to put him in next-gen stats because he was a true unicorn playing all over the place. It was a very interesting decision, but the theory with Kwesi, they bought low and they got surplus value later, and that's what they're trying to do here with Theo Jackson. They are buying low on a player they believe who's starting caliber, and they're hoping to get surplus value at the end of the deal when he's probably worth closer to $10 million, and they're only paying him just over $5 on an average annual value basis. It's a really smart move, especially because Cam Bynum is probably out the door. There have been talks that the Vikings and him have been trying to agree to an extension for months, and they have not been able to come to a deal. What's interesting, though, 6 safeties are making over than $15 million per season, but all of those are really, really good athletes and are true difference makers. The Vikings probably don't believe Bynum is in that same echelon, while Bynum probably thinks he does, and he's got a case to build around that, but he doesn't have this next level athleticism that you want from a safety like Bynum, and the Vikings just decided that, hey, we're going to move on, even though he's a locker room favorite and he's a fan favorite because of all the dances that they've done after interceptions. Look, it is what it is, but you have Theo Jackson, Josh Metellus, and this is your safety you're moving forward, and you still may have Harrison Smith come back, who they need to decide by the day 3 of the league year because a $26 million base salary is fully guaranteed if he's on the roster at 3 p.m. on that day, which is March 15th. Oh, buddy, that is a lot of money, and they are not going to give him that. They are not going to do it. And they're going to have to figure something out. But the last 2 years, the Vikings have figured something out with Harrison Smith right up at the deadline, and I expect that to be the same. And if they want to keep doing 3 safety sets, well, guess what? They've got their 3 safeties. If they want to just go to 2, they've got that as well, and they can rotate guys in and out and keep them fresher. It's going to be really interesting to see how this ends up manifesting, but safety might be off the board. We don't know. Maybe Javon Holland is no longer an option for the Minnesota Vikings, but it does signal that they do believe safety is a priority, even if it's at a low dollar, because they got their guy secured before free agency started. Strap in, everybody. It's going to be a fun ride. I'm Tyler Forness with A to Z Sports. Skol Vikings.